make public comment this morning? Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to make public comment this morning?
Sorry,
Well-
that was my cue. I about forgot. Madam Chair, Commissioners, I just want to introduce you to two of the planning department's new employees. Jill Hansen, she's our enforcement person. She's been here, what, 3 months now or so? So doing a great job. I'm glad to have her with us. And then we have Cody Bowman, who just started yesterday. He is our water and wastewater specialist. And he's learning the ropes, and we're looking forward to having him with us as well. So just want to introduce them and introduce them to you guys, and let everybody can see who each other is. And so.
Well, I want to welcome both of you. We've met before. And so welcome, Cody, and out of the cool water into the fire.
There you go.
Taking pads and helmets to take the beating.
Not yet.
Oh,
They're on order.
now he's gonna worry. Thank you, David.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none,
Close public comment.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 5, consideration changes on the agenda. Knew Kayla was gonna jump up.
Yeah, she's getting yanked from the rate.
Chairman Jones, if we could please remove item number 8, the resolution for the SPET projects, please.
Thank you, Kayla. Any other consideration of changes to the agenda? Now, item 6 is disclosures.
Madam Chair, I will not be participating or voting on item 13.
And I have none.
And I believe I have. Item 7 is the approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. On to item 9 of the regular agenda. Harry.
Pete, you're on 19 as well.
Am I on 19 as well?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm just gonna add it
19
on
as well.
13 and 19.
Thank you.
Yep, not a problem. Sorry, Terry.
No, that's fine. Sometimes it's hard to keep track.
I know. Perfect.
Good morning,
Good
Commissioners.
morning.
Amy had conflicting meetings this morning that they were all in and asked if I could present for her. What you have in front of you is an FAA grant, which is for the second half of the expansion to the ARF building. The first half was planning, the second half is for construction. There is a match listed with this grant, but that is already included in their budget and they are not
It's like a
asking.
5% match.
I believe that's correct, yes. And they are not asking for any additional funds because they had already budgeted for it.
Okay,
And if this is approved, this will come to your email directly from the FAA,
oh,
Chairman
okay,
Jones,
okay,
to sign. It has to, and I'm not sure which order it'll go through. They usually do a priority one at a time.
okay.
But if you'll watch your email, I can ask Amy to let you know about when you should expect it as
Okay.
well.
I got one this morning.
Oh, did you?
I would imagine
Okay.
Terry priority visit.
Okay.
Well, I move that we approve the FAA AIP grant 3-56-0017-052-2025 to the Laramie Regional Airport to expand the ARF building in the amount not to exceed $1,573,058. Direct the chairperson to sign for Albany County and authorize Laramie Regional Airport Chair Malia Brown to sign on behalf of the airport upon concurrence with the city of Laramie.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, acknowledge receipt of resignation letter from Tim Sullivan from the Community Service Block Grant Tripartite Board as representative of the elected officials sector vacating the term expiring June 2026, effective August 12th, 2025.
Good morning, commissioners. I know
Good
I'm not
morning.
Tracy. She had a conflict, so. Tim Sullivan has decided to resign from the CSBG board. He has been on the board since 1992, so he served a very long time on that board. But we really appreciate all the work he's done for us, and he will definitely be missed. So.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we acknowledge and receive the resignation letter from Tim Sullivan from the CSBG tripartite board as a representative of the elected officials, and thank him for 30-some years of service. Thank you.
No kidding. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Tim, for all your years of service. Item 11, appoint Pat Gabriel to the Community Service Block Grant Tripartite Board to represent the elected official sector to fill remainder of the term expiring June 2026.
So since Tim Sullivan is leaving, we do need to replace that. Pat Gabriel has offered to step in as the replacement.
Madam Chair, I move we appoint Pat Gabriel to the CSBG tripartite board to represent the elected officials and fill the remainder of the term expiring in June 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 12, present for discussion the digital sign for the south side of the courthouse property project. Jake, good morning.
Commissioners, good morning.
Been looking forward to this.
I haven't.
I'm-
So just going to give an update on the sign, and a little history to start off. And I think we're all aware of the history, but we obtained an approval from the City Planning Commission. And then our variance expired after 6 months because we didn't pull up. Within that time, another sign company in town that has billboards in town tried to use the approval of that variance as a precedent for changing billboards to EMCs. And it kind of, I guess, frightened the planning commission. So when we brought our second submittal or our second variance application to the planning commission, the first meeting, they discussed it at length and asked if we could bring, or I guess I volunteered to provide a couple of different sign options or different sign dimensions. And they tabled it because there wasn't a full table of planning commission members. And then the second time we brought it back to the planning commission, we presented all the other different sizes that we had discussed the first meeting, but they ultimately ended up denying the variance. So with that, I can present some of my options. You can ask me some questions about how the meeting went and
We have great phone tap, but I'm still working on it.
Okay. So we don't know what the appeals process is, if there is one with the city council yet.
So go ahead and proceed.
Okay, so options. Of course, the option is to do nothing, not have a sign and let that money go back to the feds. The other one is to appeal to the city council, which we're waiting to see if that is an option or how we can mitigate that. Or we can find another location. If we find another location, that might open up a whole nother can of worms based on the way the code is written and how we are able to use an EMC. It would probably require another variance through the city and trying to get, sell that sign at another location. It's a whole thing when we start looking at code on how to do this. The other option is to put it on or have the contractor build it onto a trailer, where we can expend the money now and then we can kind of use it as a temporary sign. And then we work through the process to ultimately find a location where we can have it permanently installed in the future. But we would be able to expend the majority of the funds, the grant funds now, build it on a trailer, and then in the future, give it a permanent home. And there's probably some more options in the legal realm that I am not qualified to discuss. That is what I have to present. So I'm here for any questions if you have any questions.
Jake,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Terry.
I just was wondering if, in putting it on the trailer, we don't expend all of the funds, do we send those remainders back? Or because the project has been started, are we able to hold on to those to hopefully in the future? Find a permanent
So, the sign project was more than what we had left in ARPA. We actually had to give, Schlosser. is that his name?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we had to do a payment up front to them, so actually all the ARPA portion has already been paid to Schlosser sign.
Okay,
So any other additional funding that went toward, that is designated towards this, I already issued a payment. But that's just that's our own funding that we had set aside for that project.
okay.
So, yes, but if, and I don't know legal realm, if we don't move forward with the sign, what happens to that money that we already paid them? Because I don't have anything to show for it, and that's not an okay thing. So.
Okay, go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. Jake, any ideas from the city about where we might put this on? You know, I mean, they're stopping us, and that's fine. That's their world to live in, but they tell us no, but is that possible?
I mean, there were some ideas thrown out there, but they were hesitant to do that and really provide guidance because that is not their role. You know, we're bringing a variance application for a specific site. I mean, opportunities that were mentioned were at the library, at the fairgrounds, working with the city to, you know, come up with some shared use agreement or alternative that it's somewhere off-site. But again, that requires another variance because if we have an off-site sign, an EMC sign doesn't fit within the permitted use off of the actual site. So
Jake, how big was this sign? I mean, graphically, do you have an idea?
I believe it was about 7 to 8 foot wide and about 5 to 6 feet tall. And we had a couple variant. We had a couple of options with sort of differing aspect ratios.
Because that was the only thing I heard back from the zoning and planning was it was just too dang big. And a conversation with you kind of reflected, well, it was farther off the road. So in order for people to see it,
Correct.
you had
one
to
of the
enhance the visibility somehow.
Correct. And one of the big hangups with that where it was the trees and having sort of the perception that the message would be broken as you drove through the trees and it would be a bigger distraction than just this. And then the other big complaint was that the courthouse lives in a downtown district.
And that's why we had to get the variance.
Correct. And they didn't want that to set a precedent where other businesses would start putting EMC signs up and the downtown district would look like. the
But we're
biggest
not
strip.
another business.
So, correct. And I presented that.
I'm sure you did. Thank you.
So it seemed like you said if we did something with the city and the sign, that would be useful, that they might think about that, or did I just mishear that?
I reached out to Joe Shahidi, assistant planner at the city, to see if the city would have any appetite for putting a sign right next door where it's a permitted use. I haven't heard back.
Are you talking the parking lot?
In the parking lot, yes.
Or bolting the damn thing to the jail?
In the parking
Is
lot.
the jail still in the downtown? Because there's a
No,
little.
no, it's in the business district.
Oh,
So it is a permitted use for an EMC sign.
on the jail.
I
We
don't
we
know
have that lovely alleyway. right
entirely
behind
about
the
that.
Jail. that-
Perhaps,
Okay.
yeah, perhaps.
Well.
I guess, can we do the base of the sign to look like a mosaic moose? And have it reflect something similar to what resides out front of City Hall to,
If that's the commissioner's direction, we can.
What
do
if we
whatever they
did
want.
that? use the base as a piece of, base with some art.
I mean, I'm not trying to get around it, but this seems absolutely ridiculous where we have citizens in this community demanding more notification and the city saying, no, absolutely not, that this is too much notification, apparently.
Correct. So if I may, I would suggest that if the commissioners were to tell me, we want the sign, build it anyways, regardless of the city, we're putting the contractor in a very precarious predicament because they work with the city, they have city licenses through the city, and the city will most likely level some enforcement activity or enforcement against their licenses. So I wouldn't recommend.
But we could build a trailer that would just go over the top of the planter area right now. And then because it's on a
Correct.
trailer, then there it
Yeah.
is.
And it would be a temporary
Right.
use. It wouldn't require any contractor pulling license to do that.
And I understand if it's
It still
located,
would not be a permitted use.
sure,
So I'll just throw that caveat out there.
it would be a portable sign. If we were to locate it at the library permanently, that restricts what can be displayed on the sign because it has to be relevant to that location only.
In a way that is correct. It would require a variance to have offsite
So we
messaging for the
can
court.
be through this process again.
Correct.
I'm all for the trailer.
I am too.
At least, I really didn't care until the zoning and planning declined.
The other
request.
thing Pete or Jake and I had talked about with putting it on a trailer is that not the temporary. What you guys heard yesterday was that there's like 2 building options that the entire county would like to go for. And whichever one goes through, whatever, but then that would leave it open to then place it at that option, if that is then of course.
And that's an excellent point, Bailey. I
So it
appreciate
leaves
that.
it open. I mean, ideally, yes, the courthouse makes complete sense. It's right on Grant. It's, a primary spot for it. Everybody sees it. And that's why we asked to put it there in the first place. But if we're having such problems doing that, making it temporary, finding something to do now, unfortunately, with the funding we have to make a decision. If
We
this
either
is
have to show results for the deposit through
Correct.
ARPA or repay ARPA.
Correct. And
Okay.
in my personal opinion, right now is not the time to be sending federal dollars back.
I guess my question was this, and this all started before my time, but was this a design bid build? Or, because I thought the contractor had some flexibility in the design of the sign.
That is correct. We wanted ultimately about 70 square feet because the distance from the roadway and setback and the height of the lettering that we needed, it worked out to about 70 square feet.
Okay.
To have the letters.
So the-
Big enough.
So a mobile sign in this environment isn't a big ask for them.
I've already spoke to them and they said that it's completely doable.
Okay.
Yeah, they say they have, their supplier for the signs has a mobile trailer with these signs on them. They drag them all over the country, for displays and they continue to
Sure.
work. So if we just pull it a little ways every now and again.
So we can
Well, we
use
can
it for
back it up.
voting locations, we can.
6
use it for-
inches, bring it
Yeah,
forward.
and we
6
could move it
inches.
to other sites, like if there's some activity or if you just want to display some sign somewhere else, it would be mobile.
Seems like the
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
The trailer,
Do you need a directive or a motion?
probably, at least in a directive, I think.
Yeah,
to-
let's just do a motion.
Yeah, I move that we direct the county engineer to request that the trailer or the sign be placed on a mobile platform that can be moved and make it functional on a mobile base, and we'll figure out the communications and that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. ASAP. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Item 13, present for approval the 1% community partner funding agreement between Albany County and the downtown, whoops, is that right? Oh, I jumped. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'll start over because I got confused in that. Present for approval the 1% community partner funding agreement between Albany County and the downtown clinic, Albany County Fairgrounds, for the good of Laramie, Laramie High School Snowy Range FFA, Laramie Connections, Science Loves Art, and Tele. Good morning, Bailey.
Good morning. These are just some more of those 1% agreements. I send them, the 1% I do send out prior to, and they need to sign, and then once you guys get them, then they're fully executed. We just do it a little backwards, the majority of other things. So I think there's just a handful left that'll be coming soon.
Okay. Well, I move that we approve 1% community partnership funding between Albany County and Downtown Clinic, Albany County Fairgrounds for the good of Laramie, Laramie High School, Snowy Range FFA, Laramie Connections, Science Loves Art, and Telehope. And you're gonna have to second it.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Pete abstained. I just wanted to make that. Okay, item 14, present for approval sub-recipient agreement between Albany County Commissioners and Special Olympics of Wyoming, Laramie Stampede in the amount of $9,000, Medicine Bow Nordic Association in the amount of $11,300, Common Outdoor Ground in the amount of $6,228.02, Pilot Hill Incorporated in the amount of $46,500, Laramie Plain Civic Center in the amount of $35,390.32, Laramie Rifle Range in the amount of $14,478.42, Laramie Trap Club in the amount of $15,000, and the Laramie Public Library in the amount of $4,735 for the fiscal year Albany County Rec Board funding from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Bailey.
This is the approved rec board funding, back in February. They came in and did presentations. You guys, made your rankings. Basically, it went to rec board March and April. They made their selections and it was finally approved by the actual school board, in July. So these are just those agreements that'll go with that.
Okay. Move that we approve the subrecipient agreement between Albany County Commissioners and Special Olympics of Wyoming, Laramie Stampede in the amount of $9,000, Medicine Bow Nordic Association, MBNA in the amount of $11,300, Common Outdoor Ground in the amount of $6,228.02, Pilot Hill Inc. in the amount of $46,500, Laramie Plain Civic Center in the amount of $35,390.32, Laramie Rifle Range in the amount of $14,478.42, Laramie Trap Club in the amount of $15,000, Albany County Public Library, $4,735 for the fiscal year 26, Albany County Rec Board funding for July 1st, 2025 through June 30, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 15, present for approval subrecipient agreement between Albany County Commissioners and Pilot Hill Incorporated in the amount of $17,581.73 for the fiscal year 2024. Albany County Rec Board funding from June 1st, 2025 through July 30th, 2026. Bailey.
Commissioners, as you may or may not remember, I was before you a few months ago asking about this $17,000 amount. It was leftover funding that Fairgrounds was not able to use as the price basically skyrocketed on their initial project. So I had asked the school board multiple times what we need to do with that funding. If I need to give it back to the school board, what do I need to do? Or sorry, the rec board. They said that then we can designate it how you all see fit. However, it does have to go to an approved project. So this is where my recommendation came for Pilot Hill because it was the only approved project that did not get full funding. This is just that you guys had agreed that Pilot Hill made sense. So this is the agreement for that.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the subrecipient agreement in the Albany County Commissioners and Pilot Hill Inc. in the amount of $17,581.73 for fiscal 2024 Albany County Rec Board funding June 1st, 2025 through July 30th, 2026.
I second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
It's still missing the amendment that I asked to have it earmarked for. This is the same document. There's no specification on what the money goes towards in the packet.
I thought we updated that.
Because we had to put it with the FY26 one, because it goes off of that one.
I don't believe there's anything in this document that actually earmarks what that project was. It just says it has to be used in accordance with the approved document and the agreement and Exhibit A. And there's no Exhibit A.
Oh, then the Exhibit A should have been attached. It was their original agreement from the
Okay.
24 project.
Okay, yeah,
No.
that's what I was actually,
Or from,
For their 26 project,
Yes.
which is on this agenda as well. It was the previous one. Because they did not get funding from us
Oh,
in
that's fine.
FY24.
so this is for 25 that this was approved.
No, so actually Pilot Hill has not gotten rec board funding from us. Ever.
I just wanted to know what the money was going to be earmarked for.
It's earmarked for that same project as an FY26. They had originally asked for $100,000.
Oh, okay,
And
Didn't
the
know.
rec board
Okay.
cut them to 46,500.
that explanation,
So-
okay.
The 17,000, and when I talked with Jennifer,
Yeah.
we needed to
That
put
was
it
my
on
whole
with the
hiccup
same
to begin
agenda.
with,
Yeah,
was how
no,
this
it's
money was
that-
going to, okay.
It's that same project because they
Okay.
got cut. Again, it's the only project, I mean, it's not the only project.
Well,
but
it's just,
they
we're missing
approved
Exhibit
this
A
cut.
and B in the documentation, so I didn't, okay.
it's just, so we had to approve their existing funding before we could add this on because the requirement was the additional funding had to go to an existing project.
Okay, but the way
So it's all tied
going
together.
to appear is that they just approved $17,000.
We'll
Mm,
add the
because-
exhibits from the previous one.
The FY26 will be
Yes.
attached as attachment A.
Once it's-
And they just
It already
approved
is.
the last one,
Yep.
the previous.
Okay,
You cool?
yeah,
All right. Item 16. Present for approval, contract between Albany County Board of Commissioners and Post Oak Preservation Solution LLC for the purpose of completing the National Register of Historic Places district nomination for the Lincoln Monument for Albany County Historic Preservation Board. Bailey.
This agreement, this project is for, the Lincoln Monument at the top of the hill, to make that a national monument, or sorry, national register. We did have to put a pause on this project. This is actually something that has, been before you, this spring. However, from the funding level, at the federal level, I had to put a pause on it because we weren't sure if that funding was gonna come through. I did get notification from the grant that we're good with the funding, we can move forward with our project. So this is just, we had already got it up to bid a while ago. I let them know, Post Oak know that what the situation was, and everybody agreed that, yep, they wanted to pick up the project where it was left off. So this is just that agreement for that.
I move that we approve the contract between the Albany County Board of Commissioners and Post Oak Preservation Solutions LLC for the purpose of completing the National Register of Historic Places district nomination for the Lincoln Monument for Albany County Historic Preservation Board.
Second, and Bailey, I have a question.
Yeah.
This, it said in the Post Oak application that didn't have enough money on this for the plan, or do you think that's required? Because it was a couple $100.
We will not be covering that. That will be the Historic Preservation Board covering any additional costs for that. And they did have, in the application that they put, that we submitted to the state, it did have matching, but there's match required for it. So that's just some of that that'll be going towards it.
Okay, thank you.
Did you second?
No, I moved.
Okay, I can, all right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 17, present for approval agreement between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming and Cavello Collaborations for tobacco cessation services in the amount of $900 per month for 2 classes per month from August 5th, 2025 through May 31st, 2026.
Good morning.
Good morning, there you are.
Snuck up here while you were reading. This is a new agreement for tobacco cessation classes for Albany County residents. You're welcome any questions if you have any.
And twice a month as those full day classes. What is the?
The course that she was certified in is about a 2-hour class. So they'll be run in steps. I think it's like 6 sessions to complete the entire course, but they're about 2 hours each. So we thought best to run them twice a month, just to not overwhelm people and give residents enough time to attend the classes.
And who can attend, Andrew?
Anybody,
Anybody?
yes.
Is there a limit on how many can be in each class?
No, I don't believe so. Not to make it overwhelming. I'm sure we may cap it at, something reasonable like 20. But yeah, there's no cap on how many can attend.
Where do you normally hold the classes?
So we tried different places, the library, the university has hosted them in the past. We may utilize different spaces like public health even, just kind of wherever is best suited for the class.
And do you generally have a pretty decent turnout or?
In the past, these were with VOA before.
Okay.
They didn't have good turnout. So what we're looking to do is partnering with a local medical provider to see about getting referrals from their patients to see if they would be willing to attend the classes.
And have the classes dates and times been set?
They have not.
They have not.
Waiting for the agreement before we get all of that set up.
Okay, awesome.
But once they are set, I'd be happy to share those with you.
That would be great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good thing for a message sign.
It sure
It sure
does.
does.
A mobile one.
Yeah.
I move we approve the agreement between the Board of Commissioners and Cabello Collaborations for tobacco cessation services in the amount of $900 per month for 2 classes per month from August 5th, 2025 through May 31st, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 18, present for approval, agreement between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming and Cabello Collaborations for provision of 2 youth mental health first aid training. Is that right? No, first aid training and 1 first responder mental health first aid training in the amount of $2,475 per training from August 5th, 2025 through May 31st, 2026.
Me again. So yeah, this is the new agreement for mental health first aid, and we broke it up to do 2 youth mental health first aids, which have already been scheduled with the school district. We're partnering with them. They can train all of their paraprofessionals in mental health first aid, and the other is the first responder mental health first aid, which Kristen will do with first responders.
I move that we approve the agreement between the Board of County Commissioners, the County of Albany, Wyoming, and Cabello Collaborations for provision of 2 youth mental health first aid trainings and 1 first responder mental health aid training in the amount of $2,475 per training from August 5, 2025 through May 31st, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Item 19, present for approval, Community Services Block Grant, Albany County Federal Fiscal Year 2025 Subrecipient Agreement for the following agencies. Laramie Interfaith in the amount of $52,900, Safe Project in the amount of $26,032, Laramie Reproductive Health in the amount of $29,900, Downtown Clinic in the amount of $56,350, and Family Promise of Albany County in the amount of $19,700. Bailey.
Me again. The CSBG board approved $1,100 in addition of $1,100 to each of these subrecipients. of the CSBG's board of their funding that they didn't use this year. So, the grant ends September 30th, and there's usually always some additional funding, that they prefer to send down to the subrecipients. So that's just these amendments.
Okay. Move that we approve the community service block grant, Albany County Federal Fiscal Year 2025 subrecipient amendment for the following agencies: Laramie Interfaith in the amount of $52,900, Safe Project in the amount of $26,032, Laramie Reproductive Health in the amount of $29,900, Downtown Clinic in the amount of $56,350, and Family Promise of Albany County in the amount of $19,700.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Pete abstained. Item 20, present for approval agreement for fiscal year 2022-2023 subrecipient funding from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention and UW and University of Wyoming, Wyoming Survey and Analysis Center in the amount of $50,000 for the funding cycle of May 9th, 2025 through September 30th, 2026. Bailey, how nice to see you this morning.
You have seen this agreement before. We approved this back, I believe, the first meeting of the year. Then we had to, what did they do to us? They put a stop to that agreement basically because they had some problems with the federal level. We now have the agreement again, hopefully moving the program forward. This program is for money to go to Big Brothers Big Sisters for the diversion program. So that's what this agreement is.
So this agreement funds the agreement that we have with Big Brothers Big Sisters in the county attorney's office already.
One of them, yes.
Does that program exist without this funding? Is the county still obligated to pay that whether we receive this funding or not?
So actually there's another pot of funding, our CJSB funding, Community Juvenile Service Board. We get funding through there that goes to that program as well. So it's just then would be a reduced program.
Because this is a fun little contract to try to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you have all sorts of.
Jennifer reviewed it, so.
I'm a little confused. It says YSAC, but it's Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
No, so our subrecipient is Big Brother. We contract with Big Brothers Big Sisters with this funding.
Okay.
So YSAC, University of Wyoming gets the agreement from the federal level. We're a subrecipient of them, then we contract with Big Brothers Big Sisters. So we're just a pass through. I did put an indirect cost on this. So, but we've already collected that because we started the contract, ended the contract, we're starting it again. So, but I'm the one just managing the funds on this. The county's been responsible for that. But diversion services is something that the attorney's office needs for juveniles. So, that's what Kurt has decided to do with those funds.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I move we approve the agreement fiscal year 2022-23 subrecipient funding, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention and the University of Wyoming, Wyoming Survey and Analysis Center in the amount of $50,000 for the funding cycle of May 9th, 2025 through September 30th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 21, present for approval opioid settlement agreement between the Board of Commissioners, the County of Albany, and Purdue, and direct the county attorney Kurt Bristus to sign.
So this is another opioid settlement agreement. I believe this is the biggest one that we're gonna see, but I could be wrong. I do not know how much funding we will be getting from it. They only give me percentages, so it's lovely. But that's what this is, and Jennifer's been reviewing it with me, so if you have questions, Jennifer can help me answer them. Because it's not
Graceful
fun.
throwing under the bus.
They are pretty awful.
They
I'm
are.
not gonna
So
lie.
we've seen several of these and it comes from the state. There's that percentages page at the back. But so all of these that we get go to the state, then they funnel down to us through the state. and
It's
all of
whatever
this.
money survives the process.
Correct.
I have a question on 9 on K2, just K2. And it reads, as a releaser, the governmental entity hereby absolutely, unconditionally, and irrevocably covenants not to bring, file, or claim, or to cause, assist, or permit to be brought, filed, or claimed, or to otherwise seek to establish liability for any shareholder released claims or release claims against shareholder released property, any form whatsoever, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So we can't assist if somebody, a family brings an opioid settlement against Purdue Pharma?
No.
Even if we have factual evidence to supply them? Is that what this
We
means?
cannot be a party. We are releasing ourselves as a party.
Okay.
And the county wouldn't generally have factual evidence unless it was investigative things. But whoever the individual was would be entitled to those on their own.
Okay.
Without bringing the county in as a party.
Okay. I just didn't want us to have to stop if that was my idea, was an arrest or a showing up to somebody who's OD'd,
No,
and having that information.
we
Well,
could,
not from that person.
no, we could provide all of that through public records.
Okay. This has been, as you all know, Purdue Pharma was a company that produced, distributed, and lied about the impacts of opioid settlement and opioids in America today, and they are now trying to release themselves from the liability associated with that agreement. So,
It is.
yeah.
And it is a national settlement agreement.
Yeah.
Which I think may actually be the second one or a
Yeah.
revised one.
Yes.
Because there were some issues, I think, with Purdue where they shareholders transferred a bunch of property to themselves. And so the old agreement got thrown out, and then they went back to court, and the court sorted through what had to be pulled back into the corporation and what didn't.
Okay. And does this bind us to, or the county to, if this gets thrown out again, are we bound to whatever new idea comes out of the settlement if there's a new plan? Or is this just for this specific plan?
This is just for this specific plan, but in general, we are participants in the national settlement. So we don't take any action. We don't do any of the things with it. We just, once they all fight it out, we get our piece of what is allocated to the state.
If somebody was seeking a suit against this, and would they have to do some jurisdiction shopping to try to find a court that doesn't have any association with this?
Potentially, I don't know how an individual suits against Purdue would work or a small claims suit against Purdue would work.
I'm just saying, if somebody in this community still needed to bring suit against Purdue, they could still do so in Albany County, even with the agreement in place. Or does it?
This only binds the governmental entities.
Okay.
This doesn't have anything to do with the citizens. This is
Okay.
just the county as an entity.
So this would just disallow the county from ever pursuing suit again. Okay.
Correct.
And I'm assuming the county has no interest in pursuing outside this agreement.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that we approve the opioid settlement agreement between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany and Purdue, and direct County Attorney Kurt Brixius to sign.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 22, present for approval memorandum of understanding between Albany County Board of Commissioners and City of Laramie Police Department for stipends. Say that again?
Stipends.
Stipends, thank you. In the amount of $1,200 per officer that attends and completes crisis intervention training from August 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026.
Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a new MOU between essentially you guys through my office with LPD to pay for stipends for CIT training. When we originally were awarded CIT grant from the Bureau of Justice Affairs, we put in money to compensate police departments and sheriff's offices for the overtime that's required for them to attend that training. It's a week-long, 40-hour training. But then the state had a similar grant on there as well. And so both of us couldn't coexist at the same time. And so we changed our grant to where those state pass-through dollars would compensate those those law enforcement offices for people who attended CIT training. Since then, earlier this year, the grant for the state of Wyoming has expired. And so we put essentially a change order in with the federal government to go back to our original budget for our grant. So this agreement is so that we can essentially follow through with that change in our budget for that grant.
Sheriff, has that change order been?
It's already been through and approved at the federal level.
And let's see.
I moved, we approved the memorandum of understanding between Albany County Board of Commissioners and the City of Laramie Police Department for stipends in the amount of $1,200 per officer that attends and completes crisis intervention training from August 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 23, present for approval memorandum of understanding between Albany County Board of Commissioners and University of Wyoming Police Department for stipends in the amount of $1,200 per officer that attends and completes crisis intervention training from August 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026. Sure.
This just includes the other law enforcement agency that we have here in Albany County to attend those trainings.
Move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between the Board of Albany County Commissioners and the University of Wyoming Police Department for the stipend in the amount of $1,200 per officer that attends and completes CIT training from August 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 24, present for approval cooperative law enforcement agreement between Albany County and the United States Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, Medicine Bow Route National Forest, and Thunder Basin National Grassland in the amount of $19,600.
Yes, Commissioners, this is our yearly grant that we have for forest patrol in our national forests and grasslands here in Albany County. Unfortunately, the federal government is months behind in terms of releasing that funding. We usually have this come to your commission anywhere between February and April. And so those funds were finally released. The agreement came down and it's presented before you today. So
this is what you guys traditionally call it. It's just forest enforcement.
it is. Yep. It's forest patrol. It's the same amount that we get every year. The only difference this year is that we have 4 months to try and complete it instead of 8 months. So but we're going to try really hard to try and do as much as we possibly can.
Do a lot of the deputies do their overtime that way?
Yes. Yeah. This is essentially considered what we call special duty overtime. It's an extra overtime assignment.
I know it used to be a perk 20 years ago. I don't know.
It's still a perk for
Okay.
my deputies
Okay.
now. So they're really looking forward to get out there. So we've been going out there and essentially doing it for free since Memorial Day on there because we were waiting for the agreement and it still needs to be done. So
Okay. Well, I move that we approve the cooperative law enforcement agreement between Albany County and the United States Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, Medicine Bow Route National Forest, and Thunder Basin National Grasslands in the amount of $19,600.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
You still have hunting season though.
yeah,
Well-
hunting season and then,
We don't want to say that word.
the very first parts of ice fishing season.
No.
Maybe
Oh, that wasn't the word I was thinking.
maybe snowmobile season, depending on the weather.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Item 25, present for approval memorandum of understanding between the Albany County Sheriff's Office and the City of Laramie for housing municipal inmates at the Albany County Detention Center.
Yes, this is a renewal to our agreement. Our agreement expired the beginning of July. And so it's got a renegotiated rate, a flat rate now for housing municipal inmates at the detention center. And I believe, I forgot to double check before I came, I believe it's a 5-year agreement. It's a 5-year agreement.
What is the rate?
That rate goes from, we had a 2-tiered rate before where it was $75 a day for the whole day, or a half-day rate if they were booked and released at, I believe like $36. The new rate is just a flat rate, whether it's a book and release or it's a whole day, and it's $100 per day.
And then that reoccurs every 24 hours beyond that.
Yes.
They're included. Okay.
And if you need to step it up halfway through the contract, is it just locked in at 105?
No, there's a couple of renegotiation clause. There's 2 clauses that's subject to availability of funds. It's to kind of compensate for any type of major budget cuts that come through either on our side or the city side. And then there is a renegotiation clause on there as well. So the going rate usually for municipal housing at this point varies quite a bit across the state. It's anywhere from a low end of $85 on up to a high end of $176 a day. So we felt that $100 for our areas is a reasonable cost and a reasonable increase to cover the increased costs that the county incurs, the sheriff's office incurs of housing municipal inmates.
Yeah, I want to thank you and the LPD. When I first got on the commission, this was a bone of contention, and there was a thought we would not even take city inmates if we didn't get a deal done. It seems like it's become just kind of a regular deal, which it should have always been. And so I want to thank you for changing that metric. I move we approve the memorandum of understanding between the Albany County Sheriff's Office and the City of Laramie for housing municipal inmates at the Albany County Detention Center as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 26, present for approval, invitation to bid for the purchase of 3 full-size 4-door or all-wheel drive. So it should be 4-wheel, not 4-door, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All-wheel drive sport utility vehicles with upgraded suspension and pursuit or police specifications or any combination thereof with trade-in for Albany County Sheriff's Office.
This is just asking the commission to approve so that the clerk could advertise our bid for 3 new police vehicles, and then we're going to be trading in another 3 vehicles to help offset those costs.
They didn't look like the ones you're trading in are very high mileage, but is that pretty par for the course with the engine time?
So they're not as high mileage as the ones that we've traded in the past. Unfortunately, the way these vehicles are manufactured these days, the cost of maintenance and repair is at the point where it outweighs the cost of the vehicle. So that's why it's time to trade in. So that, in just layman's terms, without me beating around the bush, they don't make them like they used to.
Yeah, no, I
I don't think you'll find any.
I understood that a transmission and an engine may cost more than.
Yeah, so we've started to see that a little bit last year and this year too, where it's going to be cost effective for the sheriff's office to start trading in these vehicles a little bit earlier. That's why you see, I think one is at like 78,000.
But it's 2012 too, so I'm assuming nobody likes to drive.
No, that one was used
for some reason
for other things as well. But some of our other ones, we're starting to see trade-ins. We're starting to trade in vehicles like at 90,000 miles, 95,000 miles, when traditionally we could get it out to 110, 115, sometimes 120. So.
Well, Commissioner Gosar's point, the atmosphere when it comes to deputies' vehicles is a complete 180 from when I started showing up around here.
Yeah.
So
now we're on a good schedule. We've been able to update our fleet, and we're at a point now where, like I said, you guys will see this about every year where we're replacing anywhere between 3 to 6 vehicles, depending on, depending on maintenance or any other mishaps that happen with the vehicle. So,
Sheriff, does this ever come out of wind impact assistance funds? How do you decide which pot to?
some of it does and some of it doesn't. So we've got 2 pots. We've got the last little bit of the special purpose tax from 2018 that was asking for sheriff's vehicles. But that pot gets renewed as we continue to collect those funds. And we've been on a trajectory to fully expend those funds on there. Then the wind, not special purpose, impact assistance funds from Windmill. We also asked for vehicles and vehicle outfitting through there as well. So you're going to see, I think the last bid that we had in February or March, I think that was a special purpose tax. This one, I believe, is windmill money on there as well. So
I guess, and just for my curiosity, how many vehicles do you have in the fleet?
right now,
So just ballpark, I'm just wondering how many.
for police vehicles, 23, I believe. So I'm not counting any of the search and rescue.
The specialty
vehicles.
stuff.
Yeah, and all the other special vehicles.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the invitation to bid for the purchase of 3 full-size 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive sport utility vehicles with the upgraded suspension and pursuit of police specifications or any combination thereof with the trade-in from the Albany County Sheriff's Office.
I would second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Aaron.
And I would just like to note, the more graphics, the better.
We keep it
That's always true.
We
Yeah.
keep it kind of simple, but we try and do the new graphics that you see are high reflectability.
I know, they're hard to spot coming though.
And during the daytime a little bit, at nighttime, they glow pretty good to enhance that safety when we're on the side of the road.
Put that out there. You like to see your first responders coming for no
Yeah.
other reason.
Yep.
Well, they're there.
It helps when you're looking around like that.
I'm usually not.
No, I didn't mean that I was in trouble. I meant it as you hear the siren and you're looking to see where it's coming from. Item 27, award the bid and approve the contract to Fremont Electric for installation of an emergency generator at the Albany County Detention Center.
We had a bid process a couple months ago. We only had one bidder to install and remove the old generator from AC/DC. It was Fremont Electric. We took a little bit of time to kind of redo the electric load study at the Albany County Detention Center to make sure that we end up purchasing and installing the proper generator there at AC/DC. And so that's what's taken a little bit of time, but we got that. And their bid has been essentially reduced to fit within that budget to where we have, like I said, the appropriate generator there at AC/DC. So we're looking to move forward on that project.
And it looks like I wasn't sure because what they supplied the scope of work and what some of the additions, will this be a full building backup?
Yes. So, well, almost. So about when the generator goes on at AC/DC, about 90% of the building is backed up. There's a lot of lights in the building that isn't. So,
Okay.
but in terms of,
It's functional.
yep, communications, all of our security measures and everything still goes on that generator. And so the new generator will be able to provide that.
Okay, yeah, because I saw the extra 117,000 to do 100% of the facility and didn't know
That's, I
how
believe,
that factored in.
I believe that's for the backup generator that they have to bring in when they're installing the new generator. We have to take that building offline for a few days.
Gotcha.
And so they have to essentially bring in a generator
The temp.
just as big, yeah,
Okay.
to make sure that the building is still operational while construction's going on.
I move that we award the bid, or approve the bid to contract to Fremont Electric for the installation of an emergency generator at the Albany County Detention Center.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Aaron. Item 28, present for approval, Highway Safety Program fiscal year 2026 sub-award agreement between the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program and Albany County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $29,822.93.
Yes.
Well, good morning,
Yes,
Aaron.
I'm gonna be here for a little while. This is our yearly subaward that we get from the NHTSA has passed through dollars through YDOT for high visibility enforcement. This first one is a combination of two awards, one for multi-jurisdictional high visibility enforcement. We go over Cheyenne Frontier Days and help out. We bring Cheyenne Highway Patrol, Laramie PD, and others to help out for like St. Patrick's Day, Jubilee Days, homecoming games, those types of things as well. And so a pot of that $10,000 is the multi-jurisdictional award that they gave us, and then the other 19,000 is for high visibility DUI enforcement in the county.
I'll move that we approve the Highway Safety Program federal funding year 2026 sub-award agreement between Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program in Albany County and Albany County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $29,822.93.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 29, present for approval Highway Safety Program fiscal year 2026 sub-award agreement between Wyoming Department of Transportation, Wyoming Safety Program, and Albany County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $3,818.18 for occupancy protection.
This is our yearly award for high visibility enforcement for what they call occupant protection, which is seatbelt enforcement. And so it's a small pot of money for us to go. And
How does that work since it's not a primary offense?
so the individuals are the traffic stop is performed on a primary offense, and then essentially the seatbelt is checked
just-
afterwards.
Okay.
So
I didn't know if it was like car seats or anything like that.
nope, car seats are included.
That's
in
not
this
a
too.
primary offense though either.
No, it's
Okay.
not. No, but it's all occupant protection within the vehicle. So, yep, seatbelts, car seats, you name it, is all checked out. So, and it works pretty well in a variety of different ways. If you're wearing your seatbelt and the officer or deputy decides to still issue a citation, you get a discount for all the occupants being in there. And if you're not wearing your seatbelt, which is definitely not a good thing. Usually a warning is given on the primary offense, and the citation for the seatbelt is then issued.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the Highway Safety Program federal fiscal year 2026 sub-award agreement for the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program and Albany County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $3,818.18 for occupancy protection.
Thank you, Commissioner Gosar. I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Item 30, present for approval purchase and relinquishment of interest agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming, by and through Albany County Sheriff's Office and James E. Simon Company for Gel Mountain Communications Site. Jennifer, hello.
So this is the agreement with Simon, and this agreement has changed from the rental MOUs that were there.
Mhm.
This is for the county to purchase the Simon Tower for a total of $4,000. And in exchange, Simon is signing over all the right to the tower and any interest they may have in the remaining tower and the shack. And they will remove all of their equipment within 60 days of the date this is signed.
Was the whole reason they didn't want to sign the MOU in the first place.
I believe so. Well, they changed their mind.
They're awfully proud of this tower.
They changed their mind. And Kate and Sheriff can talk about it a little more. This is the actual good tower. The tall one that's cemented in, not the one that's attached to the side of the building that falls off and Kate has to fix.
So the Simon Ranch had changed their mind from the original agreement where all of us were, the sheriff's office was gonna take over that Joan Tower. And
Yeah.
everybody was gonna be allowed to keep their equipment on there for the life of the lease through BLM, which was 55 years on there. Simon Contractors, towards the end of the process had changed their mind that they didn't want to be part of it anymore, even though everybody else has agreed to do it. And so they're going to look to install their own tower on their private property.
Okay. I'm assuming this is the Simon Ranch more than Simon Construction, but it doesn't matter. It's
It's
6
the ranch.
Okay. All right. Why?
It's a pretty good deal for the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
It,
Well, it is a good deal
I
because
know how
now
much
we're
it's worth
done.
and how much of it's sitting in my house. So
it's gonna provide, closure to this whole process.
No, I
And
know.
it works out for all parties involved.
No, I'm gonna move that we approve the purchase and relinquishment of interest agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Sheriff's Office and James E. Simon Company for the Gel Mount Communication Site.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 31, present for approval agreement between Albany County and TW Enterprises for annual cooperative maintenance on county generators for 2026 through 2028. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, commissioners. So this is just our preventative maintenance contract for the 10 county generators and the 1 mobile generator. And I will note a correction on section 3 of the agreement should actually be approximately $8,300 a year instead of $6,602. Still, the total is $24,955 over those 3 years.
I was trying to figure out, because they have one labeled as Medicine Bow.
That is Beach Street.
Okay.
Used to
Okay.
be Medicine Bow Technologies.
Okay. Because I had to sit there and list them all out and try to figure out what the heck they had going on.
It's 1 generator on each of the county facilities plus our mobile generator.
Kate, do any of these generators have warranties associated with them? This is,
Not at this time. Well, the new planning generator and the one that will be installed at the Albany County Detention Center will. The last one that was installed was the fairgrounds and that has expired.
and how long would those warranties be? A couple of years?
Usually about 3 years.
Okay. And then this company won't, because we contract them, won't void the warranties. That'll be fine.
Nope.
Okay.
It will not void the warranties.
Okay. I move we approve the agreement between Albany County and TW Enterprises for annual preventative maintenance on county generators for 2026 through 2028 as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Item 32, present for consideration Hayes Zoning District Amendment ZDA-05-25. David, hello.
Hello, Madam Chair, Commissioners. The applicant for this project are Timothy and Karen Hayes. The property is located at 1321 Carroll Street. The request is to change the zoning to neighborhood business from small lot residential. The Laramie Rivers Conservation District commented on this, just their normal comments, be cautious about erosion and soil degradation, make sure they're reclaiming disturbed areas. Other comments were provided, but there was no really issues of concern in those comments. Just a staff analysis of the application. The application generally follows the comprehensive plan and Laramie growth plan in that the neighborhood business zoning district is compatible with residential uses. The comp plan also supports a mix of commercial and residential uses. Proximity to the city make this area growth efficient. The application will not negatively impact surrounding land uses. The zoning district is compatible with residential zoning districts. and the city technology and office zoning that's next to it. The only development, land uses on any of the properties are to the east. On the city, property, there's a trail. And then to the west, there are some personal storage, buildings. Planning and zoning reviewed the application and asked questions and all that stuff, and they recommended approval of the application. It was a unanimous motion. So if you have any questions for me about this, I'd be happy to answer those.
I just find it interesting that there was a point made about erosion control, and Schreibices used to own this property, who own Rocky Mountain Reclamation, or I don't know if they still do or not. I just thought that was kind of comical.
New property owner, but same business on the properties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
I move to approve the Hayes zoning district amendment, ZDA -05-25, adopting and incorporating the staff analysis, findings of fact and conclusions of law as each are stated in the staff report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 32, present for consideration renewal of the 2025 mobile homes park licenses for ACAL Mobile Home Park. Joe, good morning.
Morning, commissioners. Yeah, we got another application. Everything's good to go on our end.
There's not a whole lot we do with these, is there?
Not a whole lot now.
Okay. I move that we renew. Approve the renewal of the 2025 mobile home park license for our Call Mobile Home Park.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Joe. Item 34, present for approval request for proposal for purchase and delivery of 2 full-size, 4-door, 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive sport utility vehicles and acceptance the trade and direct the clerk to advertise. Good morning.
Yes, this is just asking for your guys' approval to go out for bid for 2 new vehicles for the assessor's office and direct the clerk to advertise.
I move that we approve the request for proposal for the purchase and delivery of 2 full-size 4-door, 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive sport utility vehicles and acceptance of trade-ins and direct the clerk to advertise.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much.
These are the 2 new ones you wanted, aren't they?
Yes.
Or you didn't?
Item 35, award the bid and approve the contract for psychiatric nursing practitioner services for Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program and juvenile participants to Education Health Center, Albany County Community Health. Heather, good morning.
Morning, Commissioners, Lady Chair. Back in June, we put out RFP for bid for our psychiatric services. They and Albany Community Health responded through the bid, and so we're asking to accept or award the bid and approve the contract.
I move we award the bid and approve the contract for psychiatric nurse practitioner services for Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program, juvenile participants to Education Health Center, Albany County Community Health Clinic.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 36, award the bid and approve contract for psychiatric nurse practitioner services for Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program adult participants to Education Health Center, Albany County Community Health. Heather.
This is the exact same thing, just for our adult program.
Heather, do they have one practitioner generally be one who works for the juveniles and one who works for the adults, or do they just, I know they have 4 or 5, right? It doesn't just.
It's just as they're available. We used to have one and it ended up pushing out appointments for several weeks out. And so they have changed things where it's first available and then we communicate with the provider.
I move that we award the bid and approve the contract for psychiatric nurse practitioner services for Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program Adult Practitioners to Education Health Center, Albany County Community Health Clinic.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 37, present for approval contract between Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program, Adult Diversion Program, and Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness for Addiction Severity Assessments, Group, and Individual Counseling for Participants.
This is for approval for a contract for our diversion program, our adult diversion. We had in the past started out with a contract with a different substance abuse counseling center. They have kind of fallen off the face of the earth. And so we are bringing this to, bringing Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness to the table to provide substance abuse services.
Move that we approve the contract between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program, Adult Diversion Program, and Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness for Addiction Severity Assessments, Group, and Individual Counseling for Participants.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather. Present for approval memorandum of understanding with the Wyoming Department of Public Health and Albany County Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children for Albany County Plan of Safe Care Collaborative. Jennifer.
Good morning. So this is, I have sent this to Kristen at WIC and she said it was approved. It was actually sent out apparently a couple of years ago. And some of the agencies, ours included, didn't get it signed. So they followed up with me a month or so ago. I sent it to Kristen. She looked at it. It's for an Albany County collaborative that WIC will be participating in.
Move that we approve the memorandum of understanding with Wyoming Department of Public Health, Albany County Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children for the Albany County Plan of Safe Care Collaborative.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 39, make appointments to the Albany County Public Library. Appointment. Appointment.
Good point.
There's only one. I was just reading what was on the paper.
Yeah, you were, it's incorrect, that's why.
Do we have to have a discussion or?
Just make a motion.
Yeah.
I move that we appoint Emily Stewart for to the Albany County Public Library Board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 40, approve vouchers for July 2025.
Chair, I move we approve vouchers for July 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And seeing no further business before the Board of County Commissioners, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending.